But when I leave, you can remember I said, the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not big.
Why is it the case that days before Evo Morales offered his resignation after the military demanded it, the military and the police turned against him, whereas for weeks now, Chile has been in uprising and the military and the police haven't turned against Piñera? In fact, it seems that the military and police are the only ones on the side of Piñera. His approval ratings have gone below 10%, whereas in the case of Bolivia, their cleavages were much more open. There were many groups who feared a return to power of a racist oligarchy. I think when we ask this question, we're asking not just a question about local dynamics in these countries, but a question about geopolitical dynamics. Recently, Luis Almagro, the Secretary General of the Organization of American States, visited the United Kingdom. He went first to London, gave a speech where outside he was confronted by protesters of Bolivian descent, and he took a picture with them and posted them on Twitter. The next day he came to the University of Cambridge, perhaps thinking that he would find some kind of elite space in which he could continue to have a conversation about democracy building. I confronted him during this, and this is what happened.
The recent statements on Ecuador, Colombia, and Chile have disappointed a lot of people protesting in those countries. In Chile, the INDH has reported cases of sexual assault, violence by the police and the military. The primary justification that Piñera used to justify these attacks on the people of Chile was to say that there's a dangerous enemy within. Within the week that the United Nations and Amnesty International both said they were going to send their teams to investigate the violence that's occurring in Chile, you released a statement saying that you endorsed Piñera's position that the protests in Chile are orchestrated by Cuba and Venezuela. This, to me, is an ideological statement. It is not something that you can just say that you find yourself in the middle in between. In your statement that you wrote about Ecuador, you mentioned looting. It's the position that's shared by Piñera, and it's also the position that's shared by the Donald Trump administration. Are you really such an impartial actor as you claim to be?
Yes, I have to say I have been equanimous. I don't know from where you got that communique. I think you are misusing one, or you are dealing with some fake news that they definitely don't encourage. A communique about Chile was long before the Chilean crisis.
No, this was released a few days ago. Now notice, Luis Almagro was claiming that I was engaging in fake news, later obviously deploying the logic of, his boss, Donald Trump. But beyond that, it points out to the hypocrisy of the Organization of American States. Now, there has been a lot of evidence that the statement that I referenced on the 25th of October, which was picked up by various news outlets, including CNN and Voice of America, is true. But the bigger problem and the bigger issue is that at the end of the day, the Organization of American States insists that protests in Ecuador, Chile, and Colombia are master plans orchestrated by Cuba and Venezuela. so this brings us back to our original question. Why is it that Evo Morales, who had huge popular support despite allegations of voter irregularities, and whose unpopularity was much more divided along the lines of the population than, say, Piñera, why was he forced at gunpoint to give up power and pave the way for the military to take control? Whereas in Chile, why is it the case that Piñera, who faces abysmal approval ratings, who's facing protests in every city, and who even had to fire all of his own cabinet, why should he not renounce his position as president of Chile? I think we'll find that the answer is quite simple. The Organization of American States, which acts as a proxy of the United States, says that insofar as you are protesting against those countries which we deem socialist, then we will support you. We will even support your militaries. But if you dare protest against pensions, against neoliberal capitalism, against the privatized education system, against inequality, well then we're going to blame those protests on a conspiracy by Cuba and Venezuela and stand by the leaders of those countries no matter what. I think the answer is quite clear. The Cold War never ended in Latin America, and the biggest force of destabilization, contrary to the OAS statement that it's Cuba and Venezuela, is in fact the United States of America and the OAS itself.
But when I leave, you can remember I said, with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the big.